Okay, we got one last little thing to do here, and that is if you notice, this is a bolt that the top has been surfaced just a little bit, and there's a notch. Now, I could put that notch in the mill, except it's about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I just don't want to wake up my neighbors. So what I'm doing here is coming in with just a little rat tail file. Actually, this is a chainsaw file, and just hand filing this notch in, because this is the last thing to do before I can assemble this tracer attachment. So I'm just kind of working my way down here slowly, and we'll get there eventually. But it's pretty much the same notch. Might be just a little bit wider. Yeah, just a tad wider, but we can get that. So let's do that, and we'll come back after a bit. Okay, so if you'll notice, there's my little notch right there, and it slides down and fits right on that pin, so that when I get ready to loosen this nut on this end, then it's got something to grab onto. So we're going to put this thing back together again. We got to put the gib back in and kind of clean everything up a little bit, and then slide it back together, and I think we'll be able to try this out later on this morning. Okay, we've taken a lunch break, and now we're back. And what I ended up having to do, I had this entire piece as a single piece, and it was too long. So I needed to cut some off, and I'm going to drill another hole in here. And I thought at the same time, well, hey, why don't I have a second one that comes in from the opposite direction? So I cut it a little bit farther back than what I would have, and I've got the hole, and I've got the hole, or the slot, and so I've got one that comes in from this side, and I got one that comes in from this side. So that kind of makes me happy. 2 in 1. So we're going to come in and drill a hole down the center of this, and then we'll have one that's the right length and on the right hand side, and this one is on the left hand side. So I'm going to have to move the camera to do this. I'll be right back. All right, let's turn the power on. Well, we're going to need to speed that up, that's for sure. That's good. Okay, we've got our pilot hole. Now we want to come in and drill out a small small a hole as possible with still having the string. Let's go ahead and do that. Alright, we punch through. Slow this baby down a little bit. got everything all set. Let's flip it around and take it over to the lathe and see if it's going to work. We're looking at the maiden voyage of this tracer attachment, and I think it looks to me like it's going to work. So we're just taking about 10 at a time and seeing how it cuts. Looks like it's doing great. Now, of course, I'm all lumpy, but I'm just using a piece of scrap material here. Okay, and then bring it back. And then add 10 more. So it looks like I'm kissing this back edge a little bit as I come up on it. So probably my bit has to be a little bit sharper pointed. See how it's starting to catch right there? Boom, right there. So it cleans it up, but it doesn't totally clean it up. And then I'm guessing as I go further and further in, it's going to be more and more of a problem. See how it kisses in here just a little bit too. So before I go on to that the piece for my customer, I'm going to trim my my angles down just a little bit more. Yeah, now I'm starting to get to the place where it's right. But what I'm looking for is I put just the slightest radius on the outside of my pattern, and I'm waiting for the radius to hit. But I don't think I better mess with that right now. I'm going to just take 5 here. And let's come back and see what happens. See how it's shiny right there? So the bit is actually catching the butt end of the bit, or the heel end. I'm definitely happy with that test. It's a little rougher than I want, so I think when I do that, I'm gonna nose off the bit a little bit, and I think we're ready to go. Well, no wonder. Have a look at that bit. I mean, you know, that isn't even 90 degrees. So we're gonna just trim this back a little bit more, and then bullnose that tip a little bit. It's very sharp. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, now that I've gotten somewhat used to this, here's basically what the process is. Go down on my controls, and I crank in my my travel, and get the carriage to travel. And you can see the cutting head will start cutting any second. There it goes. And it just cuts. And we're going to go down to the back side of the, let's see if we can see it. And you can see the follower down there following the arc. And pretty much that's what it is. Now there's a fine adjustment right there that adjusts back and forth along the travel of the bed, and this adjustment here adjusts the depth of cut. So at this point I'm taking 20 thousandths per cut, just taking it light and easy, and you can see, come back to here, and you can see that my cut is finished. I come back, and when I come back, the taper doesn't really do, you know, it kind of catches a little bit in one corner there, and then take it 20 thousandths further, lock in my travel, and here it goes again. There it goes, just took off. So I can see the potential here. I mean, hey, you can make whatever shape you want. I mean, this is like the next step to full CNC lathe, which I probably will never do. So we're going to turn it off right now and go ahead and finish doing our cuts, and we'll be back. Okay, we're going to attempt to make this this cut. We've been practicing with this attachment for a couple of days now, and I think we got it down. So let's go ahead and see what the cut will look like once we get started. Just taking the back side off of that, off of it. There it is right there. And now we'll go ahead and start the cut. And this is going to be kind of a step cut because, okay, now we'll kick in the carriage. This is going to be a step cut because it's a taper all the way down to the other end of the shaft, and it looks like we're not quite there, but we're going to start to bite in there any second. There it goes. So we'll go down to the end of the shaft until it starts to get deep enough that we need to kind of back up a little bit. Now I'll back up. At the same time, let's go ahead and look and see what it's following down below here. There's our follower. We're getting down to about, oh, I don't know, a couple inches from the end. And I think we're still doing okay. Maybe a little bit of oil might help. In any second we're going to jump. There's the jump. Now at this point we'll stop it because when we go to this backside it's pretty thin, and I'll catch the thin part at the very end. So right now we're going to just come back all the way back to the beginning. We're going to bring our dial in probably at 20 or so, and do this again. Yeah, it's doing a nice cut. We're going real slow because I don't want to put too much pressure on it. Mainly because once it starts to get pretty thin down here, it starts getting a little wobbly, and we don't need that. And this is basically a handle for my wood stoves. So it's kind of to make the wood stove look a little fancy. So here the bit is going to dive in pretty deep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back it way up, so that when it dives in, it won't go so far. And let's go ahead and move it forward and see what happens. Yeah, that's a little too far. There we go. Take it real slow here, and I think that's just still a little too much of a cut. There we go, that's better. Okay, we're taking a measurement of our washer, and this part of the shaft needs to be right at the washer, so we got a ways to go. Let's take another 20 or so. There we are. Okay, so now what we want to do is that we want to come back here. And I'm just going to kind of dive in just a little bit. little bit right here. And we're set to go. Loosen up our line a little bit. Start it. Get it to spin. There we go. It's a done deal. Hi, Nick Collier here, and we just wanted to finish up on the tracer attachment project. We've got the whole thing all set. We made about a dozen of these little handles, and they're working really well. They basically go in the door. I'll show you. And this is a door that I'm making for the wood stove here in the shop. Finally I get some warmth. So the handle goes in the door like this, and then this part right here bends down so that the handle, you know, you've got something to grab onto and to turn the handle. So yeah, it was a good project, and I'm sure that this attachment's going to be used in many future projects. Right now we're on to a whole nother effort, and hey, thanks for watching, and hey, be sure to subscribe. I'll send you a little note when I post a new video. I post them about once a week, so hey, hang in there with me.